The California coast is under siege again. But this time, it's not an earthquake, it's not a tsunami, and it's not something you'll see coming on a weather app 10 days out. It's monster waves towering, 16-foot surges slamming into beaches, harbors, and coastal roads with zero regard for your plans, your property, or your false sense of safety. And these aren't your typical stormy surf days.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
These waves are the byproduct of intense Pacific storm systems, and they're bringing a level of destruction that's catching people off guard even when the ocean looks calm. Here's the reality. We're not talking about a one-off freak swell or a rogue wave. This is a full-blown atmospheric assault. A perfect cocktail of storm surge, long-period swell, and high tides is pushing seawater well beyond normal boundaries, and it's happening fast. In some areas, the ocean is swallowing entire stretches of coast in minutes, bypassing barriers, flooding roads, and hammering coastal structures not built for this kind of energy. What makes these waves particularly dangerous isn't just the height, it's the power packed in each one. The wave intervals are stretching up to 20 seconds long, and that means each surge is carrying massive energy, traveling across thousands of miles before unloading all at once when it hits shallow water near the shore. If that sounds like a disaster in slow motion, that's because it is. By the time you see the water rushing in, it's already too late. And here's the kicker. These waves aren't even generated by seismic activity. They're not tsunamis. They're weather-driven. But they're behaving with the same level of unpredictability and force, leading to widespread confusion and, in some cases, dangerous complacency. People think, oh, the water looks calm, it's probably safe. Then boom. A sudden, violent surge crashes over a seawall, floods a harbor, and knocks over everything in its path. Officials are urging the public to stay away from seawalls, rocky outcrops, and any other so-called scenic coastal viewing spots. But some people aren't getting the message. Videos are already surfacing of waves sweeping over walkways and dragging debris down beaches like it's nothing. Emergency crews have closed off several beaches and roads, but the sheer unpredictability of these waves makes it difficult to get ahead of the danger. One moment, it's calm. The next, water is pouring over the breakwater like a faucet on full blast. Now, let's talk about why this is happening. The storm systems in the Pacific have intensified over the past few days, and they're pushing vast amounts of energy across the ocean. That energy builds up over thousands of miles, and when it finally hits shallow water along the coast, there's nowhere for it to go but up and in. Buoys and tide gauges are picking up on this in real time. Readings show wave heights exceeding 16 feet and swell periods between 18 and 20 seconds. That long period is no joke. It's the ocean's version of winding up before it strikes. And when it hits hard. There's also the problem of storm surge. Combine that with already elevated tides, and you've got sea levels rising faster than most coastal defenses can handle. We're seeing water flowing into places it was never meant to reach, flooding parking lots, sinking boats in harbors, and even damaging parts of the road infrastructure. The waves are coming in sets, and because of the long period swell, those sets are carrying more power than your average winter surf. But here's what really sets this situation apart. The calm in between. These waves are spaced so far apart that people are being lured into a false sense of security. You look out, the ocean's glassy, serene, barely a ripple. But 15 seconds later, a massive wall of water crashed in without warning. That deceptive calm has already led to injuries and close calls. This is not the kind of ocean you can turn your back on. Real-time monitoring is doing its best, but even with advanced tech, there are limits. Rogue waves, sudden changes in storm trajectory, or overlapping swells can throw off predictions. Forecasts for the next 72 hours are still uncertain. There's a chance conditions could weaken gradually. But there's also the possibility that the storm systems will keep stacking, reinforcing the energy and making things even worse. Right now, it's a waiting game. Emergency services are operating in high alert. Coastal towns are bracing for more damage. And meteorologists are watching for signs of either relief or escalation. The challenge is that storm systems are dynamic. They shift, evolve, and merge. So any forecast comes with a caveat. All we know for certain is that the next few days are critical. This event is also exposing structural vulnerabilities along the California coastline. Infrastructure that's been built to withstand typical winter surf is now being overwhelmed. Flood defenses are being overtopped. Seawalls are being bypassed. Docks, staircases, and access points are being battered or submerged. The reality is that long-duration storms carrying long-period swell are not what this infrastructure was designed for. And it's not just about property, it's about people. The public underestimates the force of these waves because they don't fit into the typical disaster narrative. They're not seismic, so people don't think tsunami. But the impact is real, and the risks are just as high. You don't need a 30-foot wall of water to cause disaster. A 16-foot wave with a 20-second interval can drag you into the ocean and slam you into rocks before you even realize what's happening. Authorities are emphasizing one thing above all: vigilance. Watch the data. Heed the warnings. Don't go near the shore just to get a cool video. And if you think the ocean looks fine, remember it's probably about to hit you. These conditions aren't static, and they're not forgiving. A calm moment doesn't mean it's over. It just means the next wave hasn't arrived yet. The coming days will determine a lot. Whether the storms back off or continue to fuel this chaos depends on a complex mix of meteorological variables. But regardless of which scenario plays out, the lesson here is already clear. The ocean is not playing around. And when you mix storm surge, long-period swell, and high tides, you get a force that even seasoned coastal communities are struggling to handle. For now, staying informed and staying back is the only way to stay safe. Keep an eye on official updates. Listen to local alerts. Don't underestimate the power of these waves, even if they're not coming in like a movie-style tsunami. This is a different kind of monster, silent, slow building, and incredibly destructive. If you live near the coast or plan to visit, don't treat this like a photo op. Treat it like what it is, a high-risk, evolving weather event that can shift in minutes. Safety isn't about fear, it's about respect for the forces at play. And right now, those forces are gaining strength. If you want to stay ahead of stories like this, coastal disasters, extreme weather moments, and the unexpected drama of our natural world, make sure you're subscribed. Drop a comment if you've ever experienced waves like this or seen coastal damage firsthand. And share this with anyone who still thinks the beach is the place to be during a storm. Stay safe, stay sharp, and we'll keep watching the waves. And if you think this is just another storm that'll blow over by morning, think again. The energy hitting California right now isn't just a one-day event. It's the result of multiple, large-scale Pacific storm systems stacking on top of each other, some still forming, some already barreling toward the coast. We're not dealing with a single swell. This is a chain reaction, a domino effect of pressure systems and wave trains that could keep pounding the shoreline for days. That's why the next 72 hours are critical. This isn't hype, it's physics. Long-period swells don't just appear and disappear like summer surf. They're born thousands of miles away, deep in the ocean, where storms churn for days. And when that energy starts moving, it doesn't stop. It travels, it stacks, it builds, and by the time it gets here, it's not a wave anymore. It's a weapon. Ocean buoys scattered along the Pacific are already screaming the warning signs. Wave heights are peaking at over 16 feet, and more importantly, the intervals between them, the time from one wave to the next, are stretching beyond 20 seconds. That might sound like a lull, but in ocean terms, it's the equivalent of someone winding up for a punch. The longer the wait, the harder the hit. This is what catches people off guard. You're standing on a coastal walkway. The tide looks low. The sea looks calm. There hasn't been a wave in a while. You take a few steps closer, snap a photo, and then out of nowhere a wall of white water comes barreling in, rising higher than a streetlight, smashing over the barrier, and flooding everything in its path. These aren't isolated incidents either. We're talking multiple locations up and down the California coastline reporting overtopping, flooding, and structural damage. Roads have been swallowed, parks closed, harbors flooded. In some places, waves are hitting with such frequency and force that the recovery teams can't even get in between sets to assess the damage. The emergency response has been swift, but the conditions are making it nearly impossible to stay ahead. Warnings have gone out, barricades have gone up, but the water just doesn't care, and every high tide brings a new round of risk. If you're still near the coast during peak tides, you're playing with fire, or rather water with the power of freight trains behind it. Let's talk about that deceptive calm again, because it's probably the most dangerous part of this entire phenomenon. These long-period waves give the illusion that everything's fine. There are long gaps between swells, so the average person looks out and thinks nothing's happening. That false sense of security is what leads people to stay too long, stand too close, or ignore the evacuation signs. And when that next surge hits, you don't have time to react. You barely have time to realize what's happening. Authorities are repeating the same message over and over, stay away from the water. But let's be honest, humans are curious. We want to see it, feel it, post it, and that curiosity can get people hurt. These waves don't care about your Instagram reel. They don't care about your coastal hike. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, one surge is all it takes. And here's another layer to this mess. The infrastructure wasn't built for this. California's coastline, like most around the world, is designed for average winter storms, not long-duration wave assaults driven by multiple storm systems. The seawalls, overtopped. The flood drains, overwhelmed. The beach stairs and access ramps, gone or damaged. We're not talking about erosion over time. We're talking about sudden, violent overrun that happens in hours. The physics of these waves is also working against us. When long-period waves hit shallow coastal shelves, they rise fast. The ocean floor pushes the energy up, and it has nowhere to go but forward. So even if the waves looked manageable from a distance, the moment they meet the shore, they become something else entirely. Taller, faster, stronger, and then there's the unpredictability. Real-time data helps, but it can't account for everything. Wave patterns change, storm systems shift, some waves combine forces, creating unexpected surges that weren't modeled. So while forecasters can give a general idea, there's always an element of surprise. And that's exactly what makes this so dangerous. Forecast models are showing 3 potential scenarios. Best case, the storm activity weakens, and we start to see a decline in wave size and energy. That would allow emergency crews to start recovery work and rebuild barriers. But that's not guaranteed. The second scenario is reinforcement. More storms roll in, feeding the swell and extending the hazardous conditions. The third and worst-case scenario is persistent multi-system assault. Storm after storm, each feeding the next, keeping the waves high, the tides aggressive, and the coastline under constant siege. The uncertainty here is part of the threat. You can't plan your safety around maybe. You have to act as if the next wave is coming and that it will be worse than the last. That's what authorities are trying to get across. You don't get a warning siren. You don't get time to weigh your options. You just get hit. And while all this is happening, the general public is still playing catch-up. The term monster wave sounds sensational until you're standing on a boardwalk that's now underwater. This isn't movie magic. It's meteorology, and it's brutal. These aren't rare once-in-a-decade freak events anymore. Long-period, high-energy swells driven by massive storm systems are becoming more common, and infrastructure, public safety planning, and general awareness haven't kept up. It's not about fear. It's about realism. The physics don't lie. A 16-foot wave coming in every 20 seconds for hours can break down anything. Barriers, roads, boats, even steel pilings. People who've lived on the coast for years are reporting damage they've never seen before. Beaches they grew up on, gone. Walkways that were stable last week, crumbled. Seawalls, buckling under the pressure. And let's not forget, this is still active. Right now, even as this script is being written, the wave energy is still pounding away at California's coast. The readings from the buoys, the tide gauges, the radar, they're all confirming one thing. The ocean hasn't calmed down. Not yet. So what do? We pay attention. We stay off the coast. We stop treating the ocean like a spectator sport. And we spread the word. Because every time someone ignores a warning sign, gets too close, or thinks they can handle it, they're putting themselves and others at risk. This is the kind of event that exposes the gap between what we think we know about nature and what it's actually capable of. The fact that these waves are weather-driven, not seismic, throws off the traditional alarm bells. But make no mistake, the damage is real. The threat is real. And the next 72 hours will decide just how far this goes. At this point, the phrase "the calm before the storm" feels like a cruel joke because the real threat isn't the storm itself. It's what's riding behind it. These massive, long-period waves are deceptively quiet. You won't hear them coming. There's no howling wind, no torrential rain to warn you. Just a glassy ocean surface, then bam, a towering surge crashes into the coast like it's been waiting to pounce. That's the danger here. It's stealthy, it's powerful, and it's relentless. Emergency responders across California are in a constant state of alert. And honestly, they're exhausted. There's only so much you can do when the ocean just keeps pushing in. Sandbags, washed away. Barricades, flattened. Cleanup crews, sent scrambling between wave sets, hoping to get in and out before the next surge. This isn't just weather, it's war. And the most frustrating part, people still aren't taking it seriously. Locals are being told over and over, do not go near the water. Don't climb the rocks. Don't stroll along the seawalls. But what do we keep seeing? Clips of people running from waves like they're in a theme park. Folks trying to film the surf, only to get caught in a sudden surge and nearly swept away. The internet doesn't need your epic wave content if it means you almost got flattened by a 2,000-pound wall of water. This is the brutal truth. By the time you see the wave, it's already too late. These aren't just pretty sets rolling in, their explosive energy systems that can crush bones, snap boards, and drag you straight into open water. A 16-foot wave spaced 20 seconds apart doesn't sound scary until you realize how much raw power is behind that kind of swell. That kind of force can lift entire docks, shove cars off roads, and flood entire blocks in minutes. It doesn't knock politely, it obliterates. And even if you're not directly on the beach, the impact still ripples inland. Businesses along the coast are boarding up, canceling events, and bracing for losses. Harbors are seeing mooring failures, with boats getting tossed around like toys. Coastal roads that normally handle some spray are now experiencing total overtopping, with water pouring over the asphalt like a burst dam. And remember, this isn't over. Forecasts are still split. Maybe the storm systems will weaken, maybe, but there's just as much chance they'll double down. The Pacific is restless, and every new low-pressure system adds another layer to the chaos. If more storms align, the energy transfer keeps going, the wave periods stay long, and the coastal risk intensifies. We're right in the middle of it now, with no firm answer on how long this will last or how bad it'll get. All of this underscores one thing: vigilance isn't optional. This isn't just about surfers or thrill seekers, it's about everyday people living near the ocean who could wake up tomorrow and find their front yard underwater. It's about recognizing that the ocean doesn't owe us predictability. Sometimes, it just decides to push back. So don't tune this out. If you're near the coast, follow the alerts. Listen to officials. Stay off the cliffs, away from the waterline, and far from any place where a rogue surge could reach. Share this with anyone who still thinks monster waves are just overhyped media chatter. And if you found this breakdown helpful or terrifying in the best way, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to stay updated, because this wave saga isn't wrapping up anytime soon. And let us know in the comments, have you ever seen the ocean turn this violent? We'll be watching just from well behind the safety zone. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button, it tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.